It was against the law to mail a personal letter with sexual language in it in the United States. Comstock laws were passed in 1873. You cannot mail anything promoting sex or birth control. You cannot mail drugs, devices, or toys for sexual pleasure. The Comstock Act banned mailing sex education materials. You could get 5 years in prison for mailing obscene publications. In the 1960s and 70s, the Supreme Court addressed the issue. Thanks to Griswold versus Connecticut 1965, it was now legal for married people to use birth control. Thanks to Eisenstadt versus Baird in 1972, it was now legal for unmarried people to use birth control. Activist Bill Baird had been charged with a felony for giving contraceptive foam and condoms to an unmarried 19-year-old woman in Massachusetts. By state law, that was a crime against chastity. In 1902, activist Ida Craddock was sentenced to federal prison for 5 years for mailing out her marriage manual about sexual matters. When she was about to be sentenced to show up at the prison, she died by suicide in 1902. I went to see a fortune teller. She told me I had a curse on me. She said I had a curse on my life. She said I would never be able to hold a man or to enjoy sex and have a relationship until the curse was removed. She said I had two choices. I could pay her $20 to remove the curse, or I could buy a white skirt and blouse, size 7, and a black skirt and black blouse, size 9. So then I asked her, what is the size 7 clothes for? And she told me the size 7 clothes would be for my angel watching over me. Lawrence will probably ask you to spend the night, she said. Maybe you should drive yourself to the movies and meet him there. That way you won't be trapped. I'm not doing that, I said. I'm not driving myself to a date. Lawrence is a dog, she said. And his friends are dogs. All they want to do is dog girls. You introduced me to him, I said. He's trying to make me look bad, she said, trying to get you to his apartment. He's a nice guy, I said. Works at the post office, polite. Why are you going crazy? I looked out the window at the water. The waitress brought our food to the table. I'm just saying. I'm just warning you, she said, rolling out her napkin. I'm not going to let him take advantage of my friend. Listen, I told her. You introduced us. So if I sleep with him, I don't want you telling people behind my back like you tell people Lori gets beat by her man. My boyfriend at the time in Alexandria told me something. He told me we never had an agreement not to sleep with other people. We never had an agreement. So in order for him not to sleep with other people, I would have had to sit down at a meeting with him and confirm that we had an agreement that we would not sleep with other people. So I asked him, I said, okay, so I can do whatever I want. Next month is my family reunion. Let me ask you a question, boyfriend, that I don't have no agreement. Since we have no agreement, does that mean I can invite another guy to go with me to my reunion? My boyfriend, without an agreement, didn't answer. I didn't think it was a complicated question. I didn't even care what his answer was. We had no agreement. I could do whatever I want. You need a man, I told my friend. The nursing board was giving a program on pressure ulcers, and we were sitting at the registration table. She got all giggly. She twisted her body. Then she put on some lipstick for a picture. I took her picture with her cell phone. Put this picture on a dating site, I told her. She doesn't date. I can't believe I'm doing this, she said. When she was young, rich men took her on their yachts on the Potomac because she looked like Janet Jackson. My other friend got an attitude. All men are dumb, My other friend said, my husband is stupid. I wasn't going to let her get away with that. Didn't he take you to Paris last year? Yes, she said, but he's still dumb. I had a Sunday school crush. I had red ink on my fingertips from eating red pistachio nuts. Chaka Khan was on my dresser. On the cover of her album, Rufus featuring Chaka Khan, she was wearing leather and feathers, sitting on a big couch shaped like lips in a fur bikini top. My neighbor brought me to church so I would not grow up to be wild like Chaka Khan. At Union Baptist, Reverend McIver baptized me. We wore white robes. A man got happy during church and he was hollering. Reverend McIver looked old. He looked like Father Time. He looked like God. Reverend McIver looked like he could part the Red Sea. His voice was trembly. They passed the collection plates. Reverend McIver stood up. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. In tithes and offerings ye are cursed with a curse. Bring ye all ye tithes into my storehouse, that there be meat in mine house. Then the windows of heaven will pour ye out a blessing, and there will not be room enough to receive it. This boy in my Sunday school class was cute. His name was William. He never could come up with a good Bible verse. We were supposed to memorize Bible verses. He always just said, Jesus wept. I wanted to invite him over to listen to my Chaka Khan album. What was I going to feed him? First, dates have to have food. I couldn't cook, but I could heat him up a Swanson dinner. They had drumsticks, Salisbury steak, and mashed potatoes. William didn't come over. I never asked him. I just thought about him flipping through my ebony magazine. Red ink on my fingertips from eating red pistachio nuts. I couldn't have a boy come over to my house. I was only 12. My father would not like it. My father moved to Chicago. His girlfriend had a son that went to Harvard, but he died in a fire. She had to identify his body. He had a drinking problem. She was a black Army officer's daughter. My dad was stationed in Fort Sheridan in the Army. We swam in the 10-foot pool all summer. This black boy at the pool kept singing, Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive, and I told him to shush because he was driving me crazy. But I started singing it too by the end of summer. Dad wanted Mom to teach in Chicago, but Mom stayed at home in New Jersey all summer. She didn't come to Chicago. She didn't spend any time with Dad. She filed for divorce that summer. I was supposed to have my baby at the end of December, but this was the end of November. And it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up. I was sleeping on our leather couch. I went to the bathroom, and as I was going to the bathroom, I heard a pop. And I figured my water broke, so we went to the hospital, and they said, you're having a baby. And so 12 hours later, I gave birth after I watched the movie Animal House. At first, I wasn't going to get an epidural because I was going to just endure the pain. But then after the first contraction, I decided to get the epidural because it felt like the biggest cramp that I had ever felt. Anyway, so when my son was born, he looked white. He looked like white, like Conan O'Brien white. And I hadn't had sex with a white man. I was doubting myself. I said, did I sleepwalk like in those Lifetime movies? Anyway, my son did brown as he grew up. Babies look different that first week. I wonder what my husband thought.